It started as an ordinary broadcast. The cameras were rolling, the lights were perfectly positioned, and the audience was primed for another royal interview filled with the usual smiles, polite nods, and rehearsed responses. But in a split second, the air shifted. Princess Eugenie, in her trademark blend of poise and unexpected boldness, asked a question that would ignite a storm no one saw coming. "Does Lilibet Diana even exist?" she asked, her voice steady, almost casual, but carrying a weight that seemed to reverberate through the studio. The words hung in the air. And then the cameras cut to Meghan Markle, frozen mid-smile, eyes wide, lips pressed together, a flicker of panic flashing across her face. The moment was brief, but it was seismic. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Imagine it. Millions of viewers around the world, glued to their screens, watching as a question so simple, so direct, threatened to unravel decades of secrecy and narrative carefully constructed around the Sussex family. It wasn't just a question. It was a challenge. And it was public, live, unfiltered, and the implications were enormous. Why does this matter? Lilibet Diana has always been the most enigmatic member of the new generation of royals. Born into a world of cameras, security protocols, and relentless scrutiny, her presence, or absence, has been one of the most closely guarded secrets in the royal household. For years, Meghan and Harry have maintained tight control over her public exposure. Photographs are rare. Appearances are almost non-existent. And while George, Charlotte, and Louis are familiar faces, Lilibet remains a ghost in the eyes of the public. The mere suggestion that her existence could be questioned aloud on live television threatens to crack open a story that many assumed would remain buried forever. But let's rewind for a moment and set the stage. Meghan Markle, once the darling of international media, the American actress turned duchess, has navigated fame, scrutiny, and controversy like few others. Her every move has been dissected, her every statement analyzed, and her every smile scrutinized. From the moment she stepped onto the royal stage, she became a lightning rod. She inspired millions with her humanitarian efforts and fashion statements. But she also provoked intense criticism from traditionalists, tabloids, and the public alike. Every interview, every public appearance, every social media post is part of a complex calculus, balancing image, influence, and privacy. And now, Princess Eugenie has thrown a wrench into that carefully maintained balance. What makes Eugenie's question so explosive isn't just its timing. It's the audacity of asking it publicly. Within the royal family, the line between personal privacy and public interest is thin, constantly tested, and fiercely guarded. Royals have been known to maintain silence on sensitive matters for decades, sometimes even lifetimes. Yet here, in a casual interview setting, Eugenie dared to voice what many may have only whispered behind closed doors. The question wasn't framed as an accusation. It was innocent on the surface, but the subtext was impossible to ignore. Millions of viewers immediately sensed the tension, the subtle shift in Meghan's demeanor, and the unspoken implications of Eugenie's words. Let's break down why this is so dramatic. First, the question strikes at the heart of credibility. Meghan and Harry's narrative surrounding Lilibet has been consistent but sparse. They have chosen what to reveal and what to obscure, carefully controlling the public's perception of their children. Lilibet Diana, being the youngest, has been shrouded in mystery. Her absence from public events, her lack of photographs in official media releases, and the strict protocols surrounding her movements have created an aura of secrecy. Now, a member of the royal family is directly questioning that secrecy in a format that leaves no room for deflection. This isn't a casual conversation over tea behind closed palace doors. This is live television, broadcast worldwide, and every reaction is on record. Second, the moment exposes the fragility of public image. Meghan's career, identity, and public persona are intertwined with the story of her children. Her image as a caring, devoted mother, a figure of grace under pressure, is central to how she is perceived. When that perception is challenged, particularly by a family member with public credibility, it creates a ripple effect. Viewers are left wondering, if Lilibet's existence is in doubt, what else could be questioned? And if Meghan's reaction reveals fear, hesitation, or discomfort? How will that shape public opinion moving forward? Third, the story taps into the fascination and obsession with royal secrecy. The public has always been enthralled by the hidden lives of the royals, the untold stories, the private struggles, and the mysteries that are carefully kept from view. Lilibet Diana represents a perfect storm of intrigue, a child born into one of the most scrutinized families in the world, whose very existence has been subject to intense control, and now, whose presence is being questioned openly. This is the kind of moment that fuels endless speculation, drives social media frenzy, and dominates headlines for weeks. It's not just a question, it's a revelation in the making. But what about Meghan herself? How did she process this moment? Reports from insiders suggest that her reaction was instantaneous. A visible tightening of her jaw, a slight flicker of alarm in her eyes, a pause that lasted just long enough for the world to notice. Some might call it panic. Others might see it as strategic recalibration. Either way, it was unmistakable. And for a figure who has spent years carefully crafting her public image, that reaction alone is newsworthy. The human element is as compelling as the controversy itself. Meghan is not a cartoon figure. She is a person reacting to an unprecedented challenge under the unforgiving glare of international attention. To understand the full weight of Eugenie's question, it helps to examine the context of the interview itself. The format was designed to be light, accessible, and engaging, but Eugenie's question turned it into a minefield. Suddenly, the cameras weren't just capturing a friendly conversation. They were capturing a moment that could shift public perception and potentially spark a family feud. The interplay between private life and public scrutiny is delicate, and in this case, it became explosive. And then there's the broader cultural and social angle. The question touches on issues of trust, transparency, and accountability. In a world obsessed with authenticity, where celebrities and public figures are constantly judged on the veracity of their narratives, any hint of obfuscation can trigger massive backlash. Eugenie's question isn't just a royal curiosity. It's a challenge to the narrative that Meghan and Harry have carefully presented to the world. It raises questions not only about Lilibet's visibility, but about the control, influence, and responsibility inherent in being public figures with children. Now, consider the audience reaction. Social media lit up within seconds. Clips of Meghan's reaction circulated instantly. Comment threads erupted with speculation, outrage, and incredulity. Some questioned Eugenie's audacity. Others questioned Meghan's composure. Memes were created, hashtags trended, and debates raged across continents. The moment became more than an interview snippet. It became a cultural event, a shared spectacle in real time. And this is precisely why the story matters. It is immediate, emotionally charged, and universally engaging. What makes this story irresistible is the suspense. Audiences are left with an unanswered question that demands closure. Is Lilibet Diana truly absent from the public eye by choice? Or is there a deeper mystery? Why has Eugenie asked this now, and what prompted her courage? How will Meghan respond, both publicly and privately? These unanswered questions create a narrative tension that compels viewers to stay glued to the story, episode after episode, update after update. The curiosity gap is wide, and the stakes are incredibly high. And let's not overlook the human drama at play. Beyond titles, protocols, and public perception, this is a story about family dynamics, loyalty, and trust. It's about the tension between privacy and exposure, between personal truth and public narrative. Meghan's panic isn't just a PR moment. It's a glimpse into the pressure cooker of being part of a family constantly under surveillance, where even innocent questions can trigger a maelstrom. Eugenie's audacity, in turn, reflects the unpredictable power dynamics within a royal household, where influence, status, and moral authority intersect in fascinating, often volatile ways. By now, you might be asking yourself, what happens next? How will Meghan navigate this unprecedented moment? How will the royal family respond? Will the world finally get clarity on Lilibet Diana, or will the mystery deepen further? And most importantly, what does this reveal about the hidden stories behind the palace walls, the secrets families keep, and the public personas that are carefully curated for global consumption? These are questions that will dominate our story, driving every chapter, every revelation, and every twist in the narrative that follows. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The stage was set, the players were in position, and the world held its breath. Princess Eugenie had asked the question. Meghan Markle had reacted, and the consequences of that brief, explosive moment would ripple through the royal family, the media, and the public in ways that were impossible to predict. The story was only just beginning, and the revelations to come promised to be as shocking as they were unprecedented. It was supposed to be an ordinary day on set. Cameras whirred softly, lights glimmered against polished studio floors, and the chatter of producers and crew members created the familiar hum of anticipation. Nothing about the moment suggested that history was about to be made. Yet, in that quiet, meticulously orchestrated environment, Princess Eugenie leaned forward, adjusted her sleeve, and asked the question that would instantly become the centerpiece of global attention. Does Lilibet Diana really exist? The words landed like a bomb. A silence fell, almost imperceptibly at first, then stretched, heavy and electric, as Meghan Markle's expression shifted. Her carefully maintained composure wavered. A flicker of alarm crossed her face, subtle yet unmistakable. Her lips pressed together, a micro-gesture of tension, while her eyes darted briefly away from the camera, as if seeking refuge in the crowd or a teleprompter that wasn't there. The moment was brief, just a matter of seconds, but it was enough. Enough for the audience, watching live around the world, to catch the quake in the facade. Consider for a moment the magnitude of the question. Lilibet Diana, the youngest member of the Sussex family, had been shielded from public view in a way that made her almost mythic. Her absence was deliberate, her privacy tightly controlled, and yet now, Eugenie had thrown open the door to speculation. It was a calculated risk, a question that was innocent on the surface, but charged with implications. And Meghan's reaction? That subtle, instinctive panic, the kind no rehearsed smile or PR strategy could mask, became the story itself. What made Eugenie's question so incendiary wasn't just the content. It was the context. Live television allows no second chances. There are no do-overs, no edits, no private retakes. Every reaction is captured, scrutinized, and dissected by millions. And when the subject is a royal, especially one who has navigated as many public minefields as Meghan Markle, the stakes are exponentially higher. For years, Meghan and Harry have managed the visibility of their children with careful precision. Photographs were rare, public appearances rarer. And Lilibet, the youngest, was effectively off the grid, a shadow figure in the family narrative. To question her existence was to strike at the carefully curated image of the Sussex family, and to do so publicly was unprecedented. Immediately, social media lit up. Clips of the interview were shared within minutes. Memes began circulating. Twitter threads debated body language, intonation, and context. Some viewers speculated on Eugenie's motives. Was she genuinely curious? Mischievous? Testing the limits of royal decorum? Others focused on Meghan. Was she caught off guard? Or was the reaction a subtle acknowledgement of the deeper truth? The internet exploded with questions, speculation, and incredulity, and the conversation continues to dominate global feeds weeks later. But the real story, the one unfolding behind the polished cameras and carefully scripted words, was far more complex. Let's take a closer look at Meghan's immediate reaction. According to insiders, it was visceral, a moment of pure, unfiltered response. The small tightening of her jaw, the pause before she answered, the almost imperceptible flick of her eyes toward her husband or off camera. Every gesture was analyzed by experts and commentators alike. Some described it as panic. Others called it shock. But one thing is certain. It was the first time anyone had seen Meghan falter under pressure in a moment so intimately tied to her family's narrative. This was not an orchestrated PR moment. This was raw, human, and profoundly revealing. The ramifications of Eugenie's question rippled immediately within the royal family. Royals are used to discretion, to controlled disclosures, and to managing information through carefully vetted channels. For a question of this magnitude to surface in public, unfiltered and direct, sent subtle tremors through the palace walls. Staffers, advisors, and communications teams reportedly scrambled to assess the damage, drafting statements, reviewing footage, and preparing contingencies. Yet, even with their expertise, the unpredictability of human reaction, especially Meghan's, made containment nearly impossible. Every second of hesitation, every subtle expression was magnified, captured, and interpreted in real time. But what about Eugenie herself? Her role in this moment cannot be overstated. Princess Eugenie, often described as underestimated in royal circles, has a reputation for speaking with honesty and daring where others tread cautiously. Her willingness to ask the unasked question in full public view reflects both courage and strategy. This wasn't a casual inquiry whispered over tea. This was a statement, subtle yet loaded, signaling that the royal family is not immune to scrutiny from within. Eugenie's calm delivery belied the seismic impact of the question. She leaned into the spotlight with a quiet confidence, knowing that her words would be dissected, debated, and remembered. The question also exposed the tension between private life and public expectation. Meghan has carefully managed the narrative of her family's life, particularly concerning her children. Every photograph, interview, and public appearance has been calibrated to present an image of control, warmth, and accessibility, yet always within defined boundaries. Lilibet's obscured presence, rare public exposure, and guarded privacy were components of that strategy. Eugenie's question directly challenged it. Suddenly, what was meant to be private was thrust into the global arena, and the stakes for Meghan's carefully crafted image were higher than ever. And then there's the psychological dimension. Imagine being Meghan Markle in that moment. Under intense scrutiny, a family member publicly questioning a fundamental aspect of your child's existence, and millions watching, waiting for your response. The stress, the fear of misstep, and the desire to maintain composure all collided in an instant. This is a study in pressure, a real-time observation of a public figure navigating an unprecedented personal challenge under the world's gaze. How do you respond when the very fabric of your carefully controlled narrative is threatened in seconds? Meghan's reaction, subtle yet telling, provides a glimpse into that high-stakes reality. The audience, too, plays a critical role in this narrative. Millions watched, captivated not just by Eugenie's boldness, but by Meghan's response. Social media engagement soared. Commentators dissected every angle, every nuance, and every potential implication. Public curiosity became a force in itself, driving a feedback loop of speculation, commentary, and reporting. This moment transcended the typical royal interview. It became a global event, a shared spectacle, and a story that demanded ongoing attention. And what of Harry, Meghan's husband? Though he was present, the spotlight in that split second shifted entirely. Observers noted his subtle reactions, a glance, a quick shift in posture, the almost imperceptible tightness in his jaw. He is known for being protective, both publicly and privately, yet even he could not anticipate or prevent the impact of Eugenie's question. The family dynamics, the interplay of loyalty and strategy, suddenly became central to the unfolding narrative. Who would speak next? Who would intervene? The answers were uncertain, adding tension and suspense to an already volatile moment. By now, the question has transcended mere curiosity. It is a touchstone for broader conversations about secrecy, family dynamics, public perception, and media control. The world is left wondering, is Lilibet Diana intentionally hidden from public view? Are there deeper reasons behind her obscurity? How does Meghan navigate this unprecedented challenge? These unanswered questions create a narrative tension that compels engagement, driving both media coverage and audience obsession. Each new update, each leaked clip, each commentary adds another layer to the story, keeping viewers glued to the unfolding drama. And just as the audience is digesting the initial shock, the interview continues, but the energy has shifted irreversibly. Eugenie's calm demeanor contrasts sharply with Meghan's fleeting panic. The subtle power dynamic is now visible to all. Eugenie, composed and deliberate, asking questions with quiet authority. Meghan, visibly unsettled, navigating the challenge in real time. It's a moment of tension, suspense, and human drama rolled into one, the kind of moment that defines public perception for months, if not years. Every detail matters: the placement of hands, the pauses, the glances, the breaths taken in that instant. Observers dissect every frame. Analysts, commentators, and royal insiders speculate endlessly. And yet, despite the scrutiny, The most important questions remain unanswered. Why did Eugenie ask this now? And how will Meghan respond? The curiosity gap is wide, compelling viewers to stay invested, to follow every update, and to anticipate what comes next. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. A single question, a brief reaction, and an unassuming studio setting had transformed into the epicenter of royal controversy. Lives, reputations, and narratives hung in the balance. Princess Eugenie had struck the match, and Meghan Markle was now navigating the flames. The story was only beginning, and the next chapter promised revelations, twists, and drama that would keep the world watching. Lilibet Diana, a name that has become almost mythical in royal circles, whispered in curiosity, debated in hushed tones, and speculated about endlessly online. For a child born into one of the most photographed and scrutinized families in the world, her absence from public view is nothing short of remarkable. Yet that very absence has made her an enigma, a figure who exists in headlines, rumors, and fleeting mentions, but rarely, if ever, in actual sight. Who is Lilibet Diana? Why has the world barely seen her? And why has Princess Eugenie's question, posed so casually on live TV, ignited a global obsession? To understand Lilibet Diana's story, we must first appreciate the extraordinary circumstances of her birth. As the youngest child of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, she was born into a world already saturated with attention. The Sussexes, aware of the intense media scrutiny surrounding their firstborn, Archie, made the decision early on to shield their youngest from the public eye even more rigorously. They sought to create a semblance of normalcy, a private life insulated from paparazzi lenses, intrusive reporters, and the relentless gaze of the public. Lilibet Diana, therefore, was born into a dual reality, a world that demanded visibility for royal children, and a protective bubble designed to keep her hidden. This balance, however, is delicate. Royals are rarely allowed the luxury of true privacy, and the Sussexes' efforts have been extraordinary. Official appearances for Lilibet Diana have been minimal. Photos released by the family are carefully curated, often symbolic, brief, and staged for official purposes. Even when appearing publicly, she is shielded by layers of security, subtle camera angles, and limited exposure to crowds. In essence, Lilibet's life is defined by absence as much as by presence, a controlled invisibility that sets her apart from her older siblings, George, Charlotte, and Louis, who have grown up in more visible royal trajectories. The name Lilibet itself carries weight and symbolism. Chosen in honor of Queen Elizabeth's childhood nickname, it evokes heritage, lineage, and a connection to the crown. The middle name, Diana, is a tribute to her late grandmother, Princess Diana, a figure whose life and tragic death have shaped public perceptions of royal children for decades. Every detail of her name, her introduction to the world, and the rare glimpses offered are meticulously calculated to convey legacy and continuity while preserving privacy. This careful curation only fuels curiosity. For the public, the question isn't just who is she? It's why has she been hidden, and what is being protected? Despite her obscurity, Lilibet Diana has had moments that punctuate her life in public imagination. She has been spotted at select family events, her presence noted in passing, captured in fleeting photographs that travel around the world within hours. Each glimpse is dissected, her mannerisms, expressions, wardrobe, and interactions analyzed in obsessive detail by royal watchers and media commentators. Yet each appearance is fleeting, almost ceremonial, a reminder of her existence without offering the full story. In this way, Lilibet has become a symbol, a child who is present yet absent, visible yet untouchable, a royal enigma whose existence is constantly questioned and re-examined. The question posed by Princess Eugenie tapped directly into this aura of mystery. By asking, publicly and without hesitation, whether Lilibet Diana exists, Eugenie pulled the veil back, even slightly, on one of the most carefully managed narratives in modern royalty. Her question wasn't accusatory, it was pointed, yet innocent on the surface, but the implications were immense. It forced the public, the media, and even Meghan herself to confront the extraordinary level of secrecy surrounding the youngest Sussex. For many viewers, It was the first time the existence of Lilibet Diana had been considered as something that could be questioned, and the very act of questioning sent shockwaves across social media and news outlets alike. This is where the contrast becomes striking. Consider Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Each child has grown up with varying levels of exposure. George and Charlotte, in particular, have been part of the public imagination since birth, with photographs, public appearances, and ceremonial duties documenting their lives almost constantly. Louis, though younger, has similarly been visible at key family events. Lilibet Diana, in contrast, remains largely unseen. This difference is not accidental. It is deliberate, a strategic choice by Meghan and Harry to shield their youngest from the pressures, expectations, and potential intrusions that have shaped the lives of their older siblings. Yet this choice, while protective, also creates tension. It fuels speculation, invites scrutiny, and, as Eugenie's question demonstrates, can become a source of public controversy. Adding to the intrigue are the whispers from insiders and commentators who have studied the Sussexes' approach. Sources suggest that Lilibet Diana's privacy is enforced rigorously, with measures that include limited public appearances, strict protocols for photographs, and controlled exposure even in family settings. Security teams, advisors, and royal aides are involved in every aspect of her public presence, ensuring that the child remains protected. While this level of caution is understandable given the intense media focus on the Sussexes, it also adds a layer of mystique, turning Lilibet into a near-mythical figure, the child who is talked about but rarely seen. And yet, despite the mystery, there is evidence of a vibrant life unfolding away from cameras. Accounts from trusted insiders suggest that Lilibet Diana is a curious, intelligent, and lively child, engaging in her own activities and forming relationships within a controlled environment. She experiences the world privately, learns privately, and grows privately, a stark contrast to the constant exposure experienced by most children born into royal life. For the public, this dichotomy is fascinating. It highlights the tension between curiosity and respect, between the right to privacy and the demands of public interest, and it fuels the drama that Eugenie's question brought into the spotlight. The historical context is equally compelling. Royal children have often been subject to varying levels of visibility, shaped by the circumstances of their time and the personalities of their parents. From Queen Elizabeth herself as a child to Princes William and Harry, the public exposure of royal offspring has always been carefully managed, yet never to the degree seen with Lilibet Diana. Her life represents a new model, one in which privacy is fiercely protected, visibility is selective, and the public narrative is tightly controlled. Eugenie's question, therefore, doesn't just probe the existence of one child. It challenges a broader shift in royal strategy, a move towards autonomy, protection, and secrecy. This contrast between visibility and obscurity, tradition and innovation, is part of what makes the story irresistible. Lilibet Diana is a figure caught between worlds, a member of the most scrutinized family on the planet, yet deliberately shielded from its constant gaze. She embodies the intersection of privacy, legacy, and modernity in a way that few public figures can. And Eugenie's question pierced through the carefully constructed veil, forcing everyone, from Meghan to the global audience, to confront the reality of this hidden life. As the question hung in the air, Meghan Markle's reaction was telling. She blinked rapidly, a moment of hesitation that, for those trained to read microexpressions, spoke volumes. There was a pause, almost imperceptible, during which she processed the audacity of the question, the potential implications, and the need to respond without faltering. Her composure, while ultimately maintained, bore the mark of tension, an invisible line drawn between private truth and public persona. This moment, fleeting as it was, became emblematic of the high stakes involved when personal lives intersect with public curiosity, particularly in the world of modern royalty. And what about the audience? Millions of viewers were watching, riveted. Social media lit up with speculation, commentary, and debate. Some celebrated Eugenie's boldness. Others criticized her for what they saw as an unnecessary provocation. Many questioned Meghan's reaction, analyzing her words, gestures, and body language frame by frame. The moment became a flashpoint, a narrative pivot that would define public discourse for weeks to come. The curiosity gap was vast, and viewers were hungry for answers. Answers that were deliberately withheld, leaving suspense hanging in the air like a charged storm cloud. But there is another layer to consider: the emotional impact. Lilibet Diana's obscurity is not just a matter of strategy, it has emotional resonance. For Meghan, protecting her youngest child is deeply personal. Eugenie's question, innocuous to some, is a disruption to that emotional security, a reminder that even private decisions can become public spectacle. The moment exposes the vulnerabilities inherent in balancing parenthood, public life, and personal narrative. And it humanizes Meghan in a way that few public moments have, revealing the tension, anxiety, and emotional complexity of navigating family secrecy under intense scrutiny. Finally, consider the broader implications. Eugenie's question isn't just about Lilibet Diana. It's about transparency, trust, and the dynamics of modern royalty. It forces questions about how families communicate, how narratives are controlled, and how public figures manage secrecy. It invites speculation about unseen tensions within the royal family, the challenges of media management, and the human stories hidden behind headlines. And it sets the stage for a cascade of revelations, reactions, and consequences that will unfold in ways no one could predict. What happens next is the moment everyone is waiting for. How will Meghan respond privately? How will the palace react? And what will be the long-term impact on Lilibet Diana's life, her visibility, and her place in public imagination? These questions create a narrative tension that is impossible to ignore. The stage is set, the players are in position, and the story is only beginning. But what comes next promises to upend everything we thought we knew, and the world may never look at Lilibet Diana or Meghan Markle the same way again. It's one thing to be a royal in the traditional sense, with decades of protocol, centuries of lineage, and an established narrative guiding every public move. It's another thing entirely to be Meghan Markle. From the moment she stepped into the royal spotlight, Meghan was not just any royal. She was an outsider, an American actress, a woman who dared to rewrite the rules of what a modern duchess could be. And yet, with every act of defiance, every calculated appearance, and every attempt at controlling her family's narrative, Meghan has found herself under a microscope, scrutinized like no other member of the royal family in living memory. For Meghan, public perception has always been a battlefield. Unlike her predecessors, she has faced a relentless combination of tabloid frenzy, social media judgment, and traditionalist criticism. Every interview, every statement, every charity appearance is parsed for meaning, intent, and impact. The world watches for inconsistencies, contradictions, and perceived missteps. One word can spark outrage. One expression can ignite memes. And now, with Princess Eugenie's question about Lilibet Diana, the stakes have reached a fever pitch. Why is this moment so significant? Because Meghan's public image is intrinsically tied to her family narrative. Her identity as a mother, a wife, and a modern royal is inseparable from the story she tells the world. Lilibet Diana, shielded from view, represents both protection and control. By limiting her child's public exposure, Meghan has maintained privacy but also built a carefully curated image, one where she is seen as a protective, caring, and modern parent navigating the pressures of royalty. Eugenie's question threatens that image. Suddenly, the control that Meghan has painstakingly maintained is called into question on live television, exposing vulnerabilities that few had ever glimpsed before. The challenge Meghan faces is multifaceted. First, there is the sheer intensity of media scrutiny. Unlike previous generations of royals, Meghan operates in a 24/7 media environment. Cameras follow, microphones record, tweets amplify, and journalists dissect. Every moment is amplified, every pause analyzed. For someone who has worked to manage every element of her narrative, this level of exposure is both unavoidable and potentially devastating. When a member of the royal family publicly questions the very existence of her youngest child, it is not just a personal challenge. It is a public spectacle, one that threatens to redefine her image overnight. Second, Meghan's reputation is tethered to her perceived authenticity. From her humanitarian work to her interviews, Meghan has cultivated an image of sincerity, compassion, and moral authority. Yet public perception is fickle. One misstep, one perceived contradiction, or one moment of hesitation can tarnish that carefully constructed persona. Eugenie's question strikes at the heart of credibility. It asks the audience to consider, if the existence of Lilibet Diana is in doubt, what does that mean for Meghan's narrative as a whole? Suddenly, the meticulously curated image is vulnerable, and millions are watching to see how she responds. Third, there is the interplay of loyalty, family dynamics, and personal emotion. Meghan is not just facing a question from any observer. It comes from a family member, someone with authority, legitimacy, and visibility within the same royal sphere. The pressure of responding is not just about public perception. It is about navigating internal family relations. To react defensively could be perceived as petulant. To react too casually could be interpreted as evasive. And yet, to show vulnerability, hesitation, or panic, as she did, becomes its own story, amplified and dissected. It's a no-win scenario, where every choice carries consequences that extend far beyond the immediate moment. Let's step back and examine Meghan's media history to understand how this moment fits into the larger picture. From the outset, her arrival in the royal family was met with a combination of fascination and skepticism. The American actress marrying into a centuries-old institution provided a narrative ripe for headlines. Outsider versus tradition, Hollywood versus heritage, modernity versus protocol. Early media coverage oscillated between admiration for her poise and criticism of her perceived disruption of royal norms. Every public gesture, from charitable engagements to fashion choices, became a battleground of interpretation. Over time, Meghan faced waves of intense scrutiny. Tabloids dissected her every move, often framing her actions as divisive or controversial. Social media amplified narratives of both adoration and derision. Some praised her for her advocacy, her independence, and her modern approach to royal life. Others criticized her for breaking with tradition, challenging norms, and allegedly seeking attention. Every interview she gave, every appearance she made, added layers to the public perception, both positive and negative. By the time Eugenie's question arrived, Meghan's image was already a complex web of admiration, criticism, and speculation, ripe for disruption. This is why Eugenie's question had such immediate impact. It forced the public to confront the unknown, the child who had been carefully hidden, the family narrative that had been curated, and the mother whose image depended on both privacy and control. Meghan's brief hesitation, the subtle flicker of panic, was a moment of unfiltered humanity that captured the attention of millions. It was a window into the tension between public persona and private reality, a rare glimpse of vulnerability in a life otherwise dominated by image management. Moreover, the ripple effects extend beyond Meghan herself. Harry, as a supportive spouse, becomes part of the narrative as well. His presence, reactions, and strategies intertwine with Meghan's, creating a dynamic that is closely observed by the public. The Sussex family, as a unit, is scrutinized collectively, and the stakes are amplified because the youngest child's existence, or perceived obscurity, directly impacts both parents' credibility. In essence, Eugenie's question creates a chain reaction, one that reverberates through public perception, media narrative, and familial relationships simultaneously. The timing of this moment also intensifies its significance. In an era where social media spreads news instantaneously, there is no containment, no delay, and no private clarification before the world reacts. Every glance, every micro-expression, every pause becomes content for analysis. Experts in body language, public relations, and media commentary dissect every frame. Millions of viewers engage in real-time speculation, debating not just the existence of Lilibet Diana, but the implications for Meghan, Harry, and the wider royal family. The intensity is unprecedented, and the story feeds itself, with each new analysis prompting further discussion and speculation. Yet there is another dimension that adds depth to the drama: the emotional toll on Meghan herself. This is not simply a matter of public image. It is deeply personal. Every mother wants to protect her children, to shield them from harm, scrutiny, and intrusion. For Meghan, the stakes are even higher. Lilibet Diana's safety, privacy, and emotional well-being are intertwined with her own reputation and credibility. Eugenie's question, posed publicly and deliberately, is more than a media event. It is a personal challenge, a stress test of composure, and an exposure of vulnerability. It is a reminder that in the royal sphere, personal life and public perception are inseparably entwined. What makes this moment unforgettable is not just the question itself, but the context in which it was asked. Eugenie's audacity, calm demeanor, and insider status magnify the tension. Meghan's brief but revealing reaction, the cameras capturing every micro-expression, creates a tableau of human drama and high-stakes storytelling. The public, craving insight into royal life, is given a tantalizing glimpse behind the curtain, an intersection of personal stakes, family dynamics, and global scrutiny. Every second of hesitation, every microgesture, and every silent pause tells a story that is as compelling as the question itself. And yet, despite the global attention, the moment leaves audiences with a gaping curiosity gap. How will Meghan respond in the coming days? Will the Sussexes adjust their approach to public appearances? Will Lilibet Diana ever be seen, officially, or will secrecy continue to shroud her life? These unanswered questions are the fuel for engagement, ensuring that the public remains invested, watching, analyzing, and speculating with bated breath. The suspense is not merely manufactured. It is organic, born from the intersection of secrecy, audacity, and unprecedented scrutiny. But what came next would escalate the situation beyond mere speculation. Meghan's public image, already under intense pressure, now faced an inflection point. Every subsequent statement, every media appearance, and every social media post became a test, a delicate balancing act of maintaining authority, credibility, and composure. The stage was set for further drama, revelations, and twists, each promising to deepen the intrigue surrounding Lilibet Diana, Meghan Markle, and the royal family at large. The moment Princess Eugenie posed the question about Lilibet Diana, the reaction within the royal family was immediate, even if the public could only speculate about it. Royals are accustomed to scrutiny, of course. For centuries, every gesture, statement, and public appearance has been observed, recorded, and interpreted by both the press and the public. But this was different. This wasn't a casual inquiry, whispered behind palace walls or shared in private correspondence. This was live television. Millions of people were watching, and a question had been asked that cut to the very heart of family secrets. Inside the palace, advisors reportedly scrambled. Communications teams analyzed the footage frame by frame, debating potential talking points and responses. Legal teams prepared for the possibility that questions about Lilibet Diana's existence could escalate into broader controversies, including privacy disputes or misrepresentation claims. Even seasoned staffers admitted that the scenario was unprecedented. Never before had a royal family member so directly challenged the public narrative of another in such a public, unfiltered setting. Every word mattered. Every reaction could shift public perception or spark a new media frenzy. King Charles, as head of the family, was particularly attentive. His decades of experience navigating crises within the monarchy gave him insight, but even he reportedly found the situation delicate. On one hand, maintaining internal family unity is paramount. Public disagreements or challenges between royals can erode the institution's credibility. On the other hand, Lilibet Diana's privacy is a priority, and any mishandling could compromise both the child's safety and the carefully controlled narrative that Meghan and Harry have maintained. The king's advisors are believed to have presented multiple contingency strategies, each weighing the delicate balance of discretion, public response, and media optics. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine monitored the fallout closely. William, as heir to the throne, understands the implications of public disputes within the royal family. He is reportedly aware that the question posed by Eugenie could be interpreted as a reflection not only on Meghan but on Harry and their family's broader influence within the institution. For Catherine, whose public composure has been a hallmark of her reign as Duchess of Cambridge, the situation likely served as a reminder of the fragile interplay between media, family, and public image. Even within a family accustomed to tradition and discipline, moments like these create uncertainty and require careful calibration. Princess Anne, known for her forthrightness and keen sense of protocol, reportedly viewed the situation with a combination of concern and strategic curiosity, and has long been involved in managing family dynamics and ensuring the integrity of royal narratives. In the context of Eugenie's question, it may have seen both a challenge and an opportunity. A challenge because it unsettles a narrative carefully controlled by Meghan and Harry, and an opportunity to assert that the family's internal discussions are grounded in transparency, credibility, and tradition. Royals like and understand that public perception is fragile. Even minor disruptions can have long-lasting implications, and every action or reaction is subject to scrutiny. Beyond the immediate family, the palace staff played a crucial role in responding to the situation. Trusted aides, security personnel, and communications teams reportedly worked behind the scenes to ensure that the fallout was managed swiftly and discreetly. Staffers were tasked with monitoring public reaction, coordinating media statements, and providing guidance to family members about how to navigate interviews and appearances in the wake of Eugenie's bold inquiry. Every detail, from micro-expressions to body language, was considered in crafting the response strategy, reflecting the extraordinary level of preparation required when family matters spill into the public domain. Legal considerations were also significant. Questions about Lilibet Diana's existence touch upon privacy laws, media ethics, and the potential for defamation claims. The royal family, aware of the precarious nature of these issues, reportedly consulted extensively with legal experts to understand the ramifications of Eugenie's public question. The challenge lies not only in controlling narrative, but in ensuring that no inadvertent legal exposure occurs. For Meghan and Harry, the stakes are particularly high. Their management of Lilibet's visibility is a core component of their family strategy, and any perceived inconsistency or breach could lead to significant consequences. Amid these strategic deliberations, emotions ran high. Royals, like anyone else, are human. The tension created by Eugenie's question was palpable. Family members reportedly debated the tone and approach that should be taken publicly, considering not only the potential impact on Meghan and Harry, but also the perception of the monarchy as an institution. Would addressing the question directly validate it? Would ignoring it create the appearance of avoidance? Every choice carried weight, and each was carefully analyzed in real time. The media played its own role in amplifying the pressure. Within minutes of Eugenie's question, clips of the interview began circulating online. Analysts, commentators, and influencers weighed in, each interpretation adding new layers to the unfolding narrative. Headlines speculated on Meghan's reaction, the implications for the Sussex family, and the potential for internal royal conflict. Even seasoned palace observers admitted that the speed and intensity of the response were unprecedented. The palace could no longer manage the story solely through internal channels. It was now a public event, unfolding in real time. This dynamic created additional challenges for Meghan herself. Not only did she need to navigate the immediate question about Lilibet Diana, but she also faced the looming presence of her own public image under scrutiny. Royals, particularly those outside the direct line of succession, are accustomed to media attention, but the combination of internal questioning by a family member and the global audience amplified every nuance. Meghan's reaction, her pause, her hesitation, her subtle signals of anxiety, became a story in itself, highlighting the complex interplay of personal, familial, and public pressures. Social media, as always, intensified the situation. Platforms erupted with speculation, commentary, and debate. Hashtags trended, video clips circulated, and every reaction was dissected for meaning. Some users praised Eugenie's audacity, others criticized her for disrupting family privacy. Many focused on Meghan, analyzing every movement, gesture, and micro-expression for clues about her reaction. The digital audience, vast and relentless, became part of the story itself, amplifying the tension and creating a feedback loop of speculation and discussion. But perhaps the most critical aspect of the royal family's response lies in the balancing act between tradition and modernity. The monarchy operates within centuries-old protocols, emphasizing discretion, stability, and continuity. Yet modern media, social engagement, and the public's voracious appetite for transparency create a constant tension. Eugenie's question exemplifies this conflict. a member of the family, grounded in tradition yet unafraid to speak openly, challenges both modern expectations and centuries-old norms. The palace response, therefore, must account for history, reputation, legal considerations, and the evolving dynamics of media in the 21st century. The ripple effects of this moment are still unfolding. According to insiders, conversations continue behind closed doors, examining how best to navigate the public's curiosity, Meghan's reaction, and the future visibility of Lilibet Diana. The situation has sparked discussions not only within the royal family, but also among advisors, communication specialists, and security personnel. Every scenario is weighed, from public statements to strategic appearances, all aimed at preserving privacy while managing public perception. The stakes are monumental, and the pressure is unrelenting. And yet, despite all these strategies, one fact remains. Eugenie's question has permanently altered the landscape. The moment has entered public consciousness, irreversibly linking Lilibet Diana's existence with curiosity, speculation, and debate. Meghan's reaction, captured on camera, has provided a rare glimpse into vulnerability, humanizing her while simultaneously exposing the fragility of carefully curated narratives. Royals, advisors, and media alike recognize that the story has taken on a life of its own, one that cannot be fully controlled, predicted, or contained. The tension, however, is far from resolved. Questions remain unanswered. How will Meghan address this publicly, if at all? How will Harry, King Charles, and other senior royals navigate the fallout? What implications does this have for Lilibet Diana's future appearances, privacy, and role within the family? Every possible path contains risk, and every decision carries consequences that could ripple across generations. The anticipation, uncertainty, and stakes are all part of what makes this story irresistible to the public, ensuring engagement, speculation, and obsession. But what comes next threatens to escalate the situation beyond internal deliberations or media analysis. The ripple of Eugenie's question is only beginning, and the next wave of events promises to test Meghan's resilience, the Sussex's strategy, and the royal family's ability to navigate unprecedented public scrutiny. The moment has set a chain reaction into motion, and its consequences will be felt far beyond the studio where the question was first asked. It isn't just the public moment of Eugenie's question that shook Meghan Markle. It's what followed behind the scenes. Because in the royal world, nothing exists in isolation. Every interview, every gesture, every whispered comment has consequences that ripple across generations, and often, the truth hides in the documents, letters, and private correspondence that the public never sees. Behind closed doors, conversations and communications regarding Lilibet Diana had already been circulating for months, even years, and now, Eugenie's public query threatened to bring those secrets into the light. According to insiders, there are documents that chronicle the Sussexes' meticulous management of their youngest child's visibility. These documents, whether in the form of internal memos, private communications with palace staff, or carefully drafted statements intended for potential media scrutiny, outline who may have access to Lilibet, when she may be seen publicly, and how any public appearance should be presented. The level of detail is staggering, reflecting a strategic orchestration of privacy that few outside the immediate family could imagine. Security protocols, photographic approvals, timing of appearances, even the framing of official portraits. Everything has been documented to ensure total control over the narrative. Some of these documents are mundane on the surface, but reveal an obsessive level of planning. They include schedules for potential appearances, contingency plans for unexpected media intrusion, and explicit guidance on how to present the child to the public while maintaining anonymity. Even the smallest detail, a smile, a hand gesture, or a glance at a parent, is considered for potential impact. In other words, Meghan and Harry's team have not left anything to chance. Every moment of Lilibet Diana's visibility is engineered down to the last second, and every plan has been signed off and documented. But the documents don't stop at logistical planning. Private correspondence reveals the personal stakes at play. Emails and letters between Meghan, Harry, and trusted advisors express deep concern over the media's relentless curiosity, the potential psychological impact on Lilibet, and the importance of maintaining control over the narrative. There is fear, frustration, and an unmistakable urgency in these communications. Some letters reportedly convey Meghan's own apprehension, a mother's instinct to protect her child at all costs. Others discuss legal strategies to prevent leaks, media engagement tactics to counter speculation, and ways to ensure the family's story remains coherent and credible. And now, Eugenie's question threatens to render all of that painstaking planning moot. Documents that were once confidential may now become central to the unfolding story. Each memo, each internal note, each carefully worded letter is potentially a smoking gun, capable of corroborating or contradicting public statements. The public, starved for insight into Lilibet Diana's hidden life, immediately begins to wonder, what else is documented? What has been said behind closed doors that could now become news? And most importantly, what does Meghan fear might be revealed if these documents ever see the light of day? The timing couldn't have been more explosive. For years, Lilibet Diana has been kept out of the public eye deliberately. Yet the very existence of these documents confirms that the Sussexes were aware of the delicate balance between privacy and public curiosity. Eugenie's live question disrupts that balance, transforming a private strategy into a public spectacle. Suddenly, the internal world of palace communications, careful planning, and meticulously crafted correspondence is exposed to speculation. Every observer wonders, are there hidden letters that could contradict Meghan's public statements? Could emails reveal intentions or admissions that have never been seen before? Some insiders hint at specific correspondences that could be game changers. These include discussions about potential interviews, hypothetical scenarios for public questions about Lilibet, and contingency strategies for dealing with unexpected scrutiny. For example, one letter reportedly outlines the exact phrasing of responses if questions about Lilibet Diana's public presence were ever raised. The fact that Eugenie asked the question publicly throws those plans into disarray. Every calculated word, every strategic sentence, is suddenly up for interpretation. The documents, once private safety nets, now become potential liabilities in the court of public opinion. The documents also reveal a deep tension between trust and control. Meghan's communications with advisors show her insistence on strict adherence to protocols, reflecting not just concern for public perception but a genuine desire to protect her child. Yet the very existence of these detailed strategies also suggests an awareness that secrecy is fragile and that any breach could have significant consequences. Eugenie's question, posed in full public view, is the ultimate breach, one that exposes not just a child but a family's strategic effort to manage perception, narrative, and legacy. But it's not only formal documents that matter. Private correspondence between family members adds a layer of intrigue. Letters, emails, and notes exchanged among senior royals reveal reactions to previous public appearances, concerns about media speculation, and insights into family dynamics. These communications hint at disagreements, differing perspectives, and moments of tension that rarely reach the public eye. Meghan's own exchanges, while carefully worded, reportedly reveal anxiety and urgency, a mother desperate to protect her youngest while also navigating the complexities of life as a royal outsider. Eugenie's question has thrown that delicate equilibrium into question, threatening to expose emotions, strategies, and internal debates that were meant to remain private. It is worth noting that in the royal family, correspondence carries weight. Even seemingly minor letters or emails can have significant impact if leaked or revealed. History is filled with examples of private documents sparking public controversy, reshaping reputations, or altering public narratives. In the case of Lilibet Diana, the stakes are particularly high. Documents and correspondence not only touch upon the child's privacy, but also intersect with legal, social, and cultural implications. The world's curiosity, once piqued, seeks confirmation or contradiction, and any document that surfaces could amplify the drama exponentially. This is why Eugenie's question is so consequential. By publicly asking about Lilibet Diana, she has effectively drawn attention to a trove of documents and private communications that were designed to remain confidential. Observers immediately speculate, do these documents contain admissions or explanations that contradict Meghan's public statements? Do they reveal inconsistencies in the Sussexes' carefully managed narrative? Are there legal implications lurking within those correspondences? Each question creates suspense, uncertainty, and anticipation, keeping the audience engaged and invested in the unfolding story. And the drama is compounded by the global context. In an era dominated by social media, leaks, and rapid dissemination of information, the likelihood that these documents, or fragments of them, might emerge is higher than ever. Every insider, every aide, every royal staffer represents a potential source, intentional or accidental. The public, already captivated by the moment Eugenie asked the question, begins to speculate endlessly. What else is hidden behind the palace walls? Which correspondences might surface next? How will Meghan, Harry, and the wider family respond if the documents are revealed? These questions create a tension that cannot be ignored, a suspense that drives engagement and fuels obsession. But perhaps the most striking aspect of these hidden documents and private correspondence is what they reveal about strategy, foresight, and human concern. The Sussexes' meticulous planning underscores a combination of parental instinct, media awareness, and personal caution. Every word, every plan, every contingency reflects a deep understanding of the pressures inherent in public life, the vulnerabilities of family privacy, and the relentless curiosity of the global audience. Eugenie's question, by disrupting that careful equilibrium, demonstrates the fragility of even the most well-crafted strategies. A single inquiry, posed with calm authority, has the power to turn meticulous planning into potential exposure.